Arsenal, Igal.
Yeah.
There's consistent links to Isak and other strikers, but there's a lot of talk that Isak isn't going to be allowed to leave Newcastle this summer. You do need a number 9. I think most Arsenal fans are in agreement that you want someone more prolific. Who's the guy to take Arsenal's attack to that next level?
Terry, if we can throw the kitchen sink and try to get Isak, I wonder how much Newcastle will actually budge. Because even if I think if we approach with 100 million, they still will say they want more. I don't know about Sesko. I don't know about all these other guys that we're linked to personally. The guy from Sporting, all these other guys, I'm not 100% sure about them. I feel like they're very much unknown, and it could go down a similar route of a Darwin Núñez or a Nicholas Jackson. You spend all this money on this player who's still very raw and still needs to be developed a little bit more. So I think the best option for us would be, of course, to go get Isak. And if we can't get Isak, I'm not going to rush into spending 100 million on somebody who the club are not 100% guaranteed is going to be the starter that can push us over the edge. We might end up going for a left winger or someone like if it's true that Rafael Leao is available. If I can't get Isak, go get me a Rafael Leao or somebody who can further improve our front line, guaranteed. Not just get a striker for the sake of getting a striker and getting in a Sesko. Or I've seen Sesko versus Man City in the Champions League. I've seen him over there. He had a good end to the season, but I'm not convinced. The guy at Sporting, I forget his name, Victor. What's his name? Gyökeres. I'm not too convinced about him either, because I've seen Darwin Núñez come to the Premier League after smashing it for over there. So I do worry about that. It would be amazing, but the limit that I would say is if they're talking about 100, 125 for Isak, I would drop it. I think Isak is that good of a player. We've seen what he did in half a season almost with his injuries, with his timeout. And if Arsenal can sort out that striker situation, we're definitely going to be in a good shout for the title race next season. But if we can't get Isak, I wouldn't just go spend 90 or 80 or 60 million on another guy.
Ollie Watkins?
For the sake of it. Ollie Watkins?
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to drop that. I don't think we're going to drop 80 to 70 million on Ollie Watkins. I don't know how much they would want.
I feel like if you're looking at strikers, like you've mentioned, the best strikers to go to are the ones that are currently in the Premier League. I feel like they are of the better caliber. The ones that you're looking at around world football, like you've mentioned, Sesko, Gyökeres, Osimhen, they're all going to cost 70, 80, 90 mil plus. And they've not proved that at the level in the Premier League. We all know coming to the Premier League I know some people are going to say, yeah, they're still scoring in other leagues and they're still top players. They're good players, and I'm not taking anything away from them. But as Igal has mentioned, there's been so many players come from these other leagues. We know how different they are. They're slower. The football's just not as fast. The pressure in the Premier League's different. And I just feel like a lot of these players are going to have to come here, adapt, and it may take them time to find their feet in that Arsenal team rather than going for an Isak, Ivan Toney, or Ollie Watkins. I generally think these are the best three options of strikers that you can go and get.
I don't think we're going to get Toney, though. They've already said... Why? They don't like that. There's some issues with Toney.
I think Toney probably doesn't fit in with, like you say, Arteta. I think maybe he has a bit too much arrogance, and I feel like maybe the way that he's spoken about himself and the way he comes across in the media, I'm not sure if Arteta is going to want to play.
Ivan Toney's a Tottenham player come the end of the season. We know this.
I don't think so. I don't think that he comes to Tottenham either. I honestly don't know where
Ivan Toney ends up at Man United.
I think he's a good player, but for me, like I said, I think Watkins or Isak, drop the bag, man. But both of those.
My main thing,
question for you, sorry, quickly. What has made Arsenal fans change their minds about Ivan Toney? Because for a good 18 months, you man wanted him hard, and then suddenly now, but maybe ever since the links weren't as strong, Arsenal fans are like, no, actually, he's not good enough. Like, what do you think?
Personally, you know me. I have a fondness for Ivan Toney. I think he's a great striker. I love the guy. I would love to have him at Arsenal, but all the reports have come out that they don't like his character. There's rumors that they don't like some of the interviews and things that he's said about his own club, and I just think maybe he just rubbed some of the players the wrong way in the battles that they've had in the Premier League, and they just don't think he's a good fit to come into their dressing room based on that. But hey, that's the reports that are coming around. I've seen numerous reports come around from Football London and other things talking about his character, his attitude, and things like that. So I'm just going based off that. It's not a thing where I've said, oh, I don't want him. It's not that. It's just that's the reports that are coming out. And if they're telling me that there's no sign of Arsenal going in for Ivan Toney, I gotta kind of believe the reports. As for Arsenal, if I'm gonna tell you guys one thing, I don't want the club to go and sign a project striker. I don't want us to go and sign a project striker, bring in another project into this team. If we're going to go sign something, sign somebody who's going to guarantee us, improve us in that front three somehow.
Arsenal are serious. They don't sign any project players this summer because this is the summer you need to close the gap on City.
The only project you can sign, I would say, is like a backup center back or a backup midfielder if we sign 2 midfielders.
But that's got to be like the last signing of the summer, not, you know, like when the one that you start off with.
Listen, we're in win now mode. We're in win now mode. This team and the manager need to start getting in the pieces to help us get silverware over the line. And if that means get us a striker, if that means get us a left winger, if that means get us a midfielder, if that means get us another left back / center back, that's what we need. And we're also going to have to get a backup goalkeeper because Ramsdale is going to be leaving. So I'm looking at 4 to 5 signings minimum.
I definitely think that my fault, bro.
Get Osimhen, because I don't want my club signing Osimhen. If you take him away, I don't have to spend 100 million.
We're not even linked to Osimhen.
I don't take him. Take him. I need someone.
Hasn't he said he already chose the club? He said this many months ago that Osman had already made his first.
The thing is, football transfers, the way it works is just interesting to me. You hear about it in waves. So out of nowhere, you're going to hear Osimhen. Everyone's linked to him in a week. Then you're going to hear Sesko. We've all been linked to him in a week. Then the next one is going to be Isaac. I don't think Newcastle want to sell Isaac. I don't think they want to sell Isaac. I think they want to keep him, and they're going to try to whoever they sell him to, it's going to be a ridiculous fee. If Arsenal are willing to spend the fee, I think it's going to be well worth it. You guys seen how he performed. He was one of the top goal scorers, and he missed like 7 or 8 games.
But I think Ivan Toney is the obvious choice here, though, because he only has 12 months left on his deal once this summer hits. So you're not going to be able to charge a crazy amount for him. I mean, like, that's going to cut his price in half.
But character analysis is a massive thing for Arsenal and Arteta.
Yeah, but all the best players like in the world have a little bit of arrogance to them. I mean, what do you want? Just like soft guys up in there? No, like you should want some guys who people are not going to always agree with.
No, but Will, there's not many players in the world that have come out and pretty much said fuck their club. Like,
I mean, he plays for Brentford. I don't blame him. He plays for Brentford. No, like he should be trying to force that move away.
Will, 1 second. I think you're missing this, Will. Like, you shouldn't ever say that about your club. But the circumstances that he was in, I get. The man was talking to a beautiful young lady, and we've all done this. When you're trying to get with a lady and you show off a little bit, that's all he's gone and done. And I think as men, right, as men, we've all been in similar situations. I can forgive him for that. I don't know where these reports have come that he's got a bad attitude. There's not been a single thing that's come out of Brentford. When it comes to everything he did with the gambling, that club stood by him. The way they speak about him is exemplary. I haven't... There's been certain players where everywhere they've gone, there's a story. So Luke Shaw at Man United, everywhere he's been, his training habits and his eating habits have been discussed. You know, youth team manager coaches have said, yeah, you know, he's a bit greedy, or he didn't train hard enough. It's followed him around. With Ivan Toney, it's like Troy Deeney's a great example. Not as good as Toney, but everywhere Troy Deeney was in his early career, there were stories about issues with him, not turning up to trials and missing games and all sorts of things. With Ivan Toney, I've never seen anything tangible about a problem. Yes, he had a gambling addiction, and yes, he shouldn't have done what he did. But I just don't see him. I've just not read anything that's tangible that he's a problem. I love Ivan Toney at Man United. He really, really is.
Is it just bad PR from Arsenal?
Ivan Toney.
Is it just bad PR? Is it like because they're no longer being linked to him, he's not rated as highly? I do think, though, they are going to splash the cash and get Isak. I think Benjamin Sesko is, 20 years of age, very raw. He's not their number 1 striker. They've got Luis Openda at Leipzig. I think one of Isak or Guimaraes, someone's going to pay massive, massive, massive money. And I do think Arsenal will sign Isak. I think Gabriel Jesus... Sorry,
I'm gonna break like what? Because then that'd have to be a Premier League record, right? Like,
we're like
120, 130.
The Cronkies have already backed Arteta with 630 million. There's reports that they're prepared to do another 200 million. They only need probably a party replacement, another defender, and a striker, and they're where City are.
We shouldn't have
how much money do you think?